I rounded up the whole group and took them downtown for questioning, along with half a pound of pimento loaf.
Tell me, though, about the dry-aged Harrison Ford ribeye.
Well, it looks good despite its age. Let me get some fiery purgatory. Hold on. Hello? Yes. May the power of the Bolsheviks last 1,000 years. Becky, did you pick up my dry cleaning? Come on, sugar, let me know. Suffice to say, bad men are so fresh from the garage, they still smell like antifreeze.
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
How are we feeling?
We're back. I was watching Blaine Cook's channel again today since you said you were. It's just a winter thing for us for some reason to get
Hot pepper
into
drinks.
cocktail making. So, yeah, I was thusly inspired to check out some of his wicker bar stuff and get some good recipe ideas for drinks.
Speaking of drinks, this week's sponsor is Fiery Purgatory Soda. And yes, you have to say it like that. Sorry, go ahead.
You know, I feel like sometimes I live in a box when we went over my daughter's and she offered us mulled wine. I'm like, okay, I didn't understand.
Would you like mulled wine? And she said it so casually. I was like, mold?
Mulled wine.
Okay.
Yeah. It's not mulled wine, it's mulled.
And it turned out to be really cool.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about making it for our Christmas Eve drink because that ought to go well with last minute wrapping. But it's just, you take a red wine and you add in some spices and some cinnamon and clove and kind of.
I don't like when you mess with the surefire winner. You start messing with the bacon. I don't like it. Red wine is pretty much perfect the way it is, but actually didn't mind it. Didn't mind it. It was a little bit more, little more hot. It's basically, it tasted like Christmas.
It did. I definitely enjoyed it. It was definitely.
You need to call it something else, though. Want some mulled wine? Well, we have that. We left it upstairs by the bureau for 3 weeks when we got mulled wine.
May or may not have done that.
Yeah. Somebody likes to try to sneak the wine upstairs. Like when we go to bed, like she said, I'll drink this after he falls asleep. No, you're not.
I'll wake up in an hour.
And it sits up there and it turns into an environment of some kind, a biological environment.
I had to take care of that environment we had out back. By the way, I took care of that yesterday. We had left a beer glass out by the fire pit. Which
it's starting to be an environment.
Yeah, we haven't been out there in a while, and it rained a few times. I think there was a frog in it. It was, I don't know.
Let me get some fiery purgatory. Hold on.
Yeah, so it was a good time had by all. We actually went out Thanksgiving Eve to my old employer.
Yes, we did.
Most people don't get that experience. Most if you leave an employer and it's not like a public place, they think you're weird if you show back up. But
well, in my profession, they have this crab feast every year where all the logistics people go. I wouldn't go there if my life depended on it now, but I used to go like every 5 years. And it's like for all the freight forwarders and the air freight people and all. And it's always like Marchman. And it's people I don't want to see ever again, like bad bosses and they're half crocked. It's just not fun for me. That's how I went. Me and my brother ended up sitting at a table quietly together and talking, and then we went back to work. Talked about how much we didn't like our DHL rep. So anyway, but we went back to you were an alumni of your old restaurant, and we had a good time.
Yeah, we did, and they've really improved the place. In fact, I didn't think the outside bar was going to be open. They have 3 bars at this place, which is very smart, because as the owner always told me, the money is in the bar, it's not in the food. So they have
food's just an accoutrement.
It is. You make much bigger bang for your buck serving fancy cocktails and expensive draft beers. So
like Easter and a few other holidays when I was off and she wasn't, I would just go and just stay at the bar all day. She'd come see me every once in a while and I'd be like, here's to you. It's only 3 o'clock. I'll have another.
Yeah, it was 10 years of my life there. It was weird going back. Hardly, of course, because of restaurant turnover, hardly anyone that I remembered. Almost everyone was new, but that comes with the territory. It's always been that way there.
So there is a restaurant in Brooklyn that serves, I think there's a few restaurants like this. They serve entrees that are named after famous people. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Like the Perry Como Hero Sandwich, the Guy Lombardo platter, whatever. We found that really cool one in Los Angeles that has like the shout at the devil burger, the Motley Crue burger.
I wanted the napalm death burger.
Yeah,
Oh, it had pickled jalapenos on it.
They have entrees like the D. Snyder, the Ozzy Osbourne, etc. So I was just wondering what ordering is like in some of these places. Like, for example, like the customer says to the waiter, could I get the Johnny Depp beef stew? It comes in red wine sauce, I believe. The waiter says, would you like something to drink with that? Yeah, the amber lager looks good. And then the waiter says, I don't recommend the amber with the Depp at all. Could we get something for your wife?
Well, yes, I was looking at the pan-seared Kevin Hart.
And that's only available in short loin. Is that okay?
Well, tell me though about the dry-aged Harrison Ford ribeye.
Well, it looks good despite its age. I mean, I recommend it if you're feeling adventurous.
Oh, but it's too rich for my blood. I'll take the Tiger Woods prime rib.
All right, just to be clear, that's no longer served with Swedish potatoes. And then you have a third customer. Tell me about the Mel Gibson filet. It comes sauced in a whiskey glaze. I'll have it. Wait, is it available as a kosher meal? Give me a break. It is not a kosher meal. Oh.
I liked on that one menu the no more Mr. Nice fries.
It's really cool. I wish they had something like that near us. Yeah. I get the black bun for the shot the devil thing. It's comes served with a pentagram on it. Very cool.
They
Yeah.
must just sear it in.
Yeah.
Could you imagine? Yeah, we need all our rolls with pentagrams. Work up that.
Anyway, so shifting gears, one of the places that I worked at the briefest is UPS, like Big Brown. We're talking 3 months max. I was there. They were looking to bring fresh blood in, and that's a very bad idea for them. Right away, we learned that they're kind of a cult. Like UPS, they want to hire you as an 18-year-old loading trucks and have you stay there for 30 years so you don't realize how weird they are. But all of us that kind of parachuted in, for example, they have a little policy manual book that you have to keep with you at all times. And before every meeting, we were required to pick out a section of the Bible and read it, and then have a short discussion about the policy before starting the actual meeting.
Yeah.
If you didn't do this, you get in trouble.
Most places they give you the handbook and you put it in your desk drawer and you
forget
don't
about it. Yeah,
you forget about it until the day you quit and then you throw it out.
like I said, to anyone like me who was new, who just had already worked other places, we just thought they were Looney Tunes, right? This is what it was like. Good afternoon, everyone. Before we get into Barry's retirement party, I'd like to read Chapter 4, Section 11, to reflect on the facial hair policy of the UPS drivers. Okay. Yeah. This meeting is to introduce our newest addition to the call center, Hilda Davidson. Clap, 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 clap. Before we get to that, I'd like to read an important section from the policy book on conveyor belt maintenance checks. I am not exaggerating. That's exactly what it was like. All of us that were not lifers were like,
God.
And this one guy, Tom, he was, I forget his last name. He actually got in trouble. He actually said, everyone open their hymnals. And we freaking died. And, management was like, no joking about the policy book. Yeah. I wonder how prevalent this type of thing is throughout history. Like whenever you have like a phrase that you have to say before you can communicate, Communist Russia, 1945. Hello? Yes. May the power of the Bolsheviks last 1,000 years. Becky, did you pick up my dry cleaning?
How about the Church of Scientology, Florida, 1982? Betty, may the author of the universe enable all men to reach an understanding of their spiritual nature. Did I leave my wallet on the upstairs dresser?
Shout out to Ron Hubbard. Pikesville, Maryland, 2023. Carol, Shema, Yisrael, Adonai, Eloheinu Adonai. Can you call AAA? I'm locked out of the Kia again.
Our interview this week is with none other than Dave Overkill, aka Dave Just, from the legendary Ohio speed metal band Destructor.
Yeah.
We talk about the full history of Destructor from the early makeup days all the way through the making of the new album Blood, Bone, and Fire, smoking pig heads, and confiscating random hazmat stickers. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, let's play a song from 1985's classic album from Destructor, Maximum Destruction. This is Pounding Evil. Okay, let's talk about Patreon. The site is patreon.com/Snaggletooth Podcasts. For $6.66 a month, it unlocks all kinds of bonus content that you can't get anywhere else. More Mark and Stace than you can handle, I promise.
Yeah, I recently put a wonderful recipe up for satanic cheesecake. It is excellent.
That's great.
This is my contribution. It is fairly easy to make and everyone will love it.
Yep. I just put up some random music reviews, and I've got a lot more that I'm going to be sticking up there that you will not see anywhere but Patreon. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel as well as checking out our Instagram and Facebook pages. Say hi.
Yeah, we do polls on our Instagram,
Please say
you know,
do.
that we do that affect content and give us ideas. So definitely, it helps us creators know what you're interested in, what you want to see, and that what you'd like to see us do more of on the show. So as well as just take general polls of what's hot and trending.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, we have a new feature that we're rolling out this week. We're going to occasionally delve into the writings of one Gary Shirk, police detective. He's a lifelong writer of police novels. Gary writes gripping scenes full of mystery and intrigue, but we think he may be getting a little paranoid in his old age. Gary Shirk, police detective. It was a muggy afternoon in Los Angeles, one of those days when the smog hung in the air like a beer can mobile. I entered the building marked Save-A-Lot on Rose Hall and 17th Avenue from the west side. Suddenly, I was standing in a short line of ordinary civilians in front of a large counter displaying hams, turkeys, beef roasts, and all matters of cheese. I didn't like the look of it. The man behind the counter wore a white apron and a suspicious paper hat. He was working the slicing machine and seemed to be deliberately avoiding eye contact. I showed him my badge and asked for a word, but apparently they have some kind of numbering system I wasn't aware of. Here's where it gets interesting. He directed me to a curious red machine mounted on the wall behind me that dispensed numerical type tickets. I was glad I trusted my gut. This was obviously some kind of Vegas-style numbering racket. I rounded up the whole group and took them downtown for questioning along with half a pound of pimento loaf. I'm Gary Shirk, police detective. No, they turned out pretty good. What do you think?
That's awesome.
He's never been in the deli counter before, apparently. We have any deli counter humor? Anybody have any deli counter jokes for the comments? No? I guess not. Sounds like a bunch of baloney to me. Okay. This is called Going the Distance. Students had left several hours earlier, but out of respect for the curriculum under the topic Educational Endurance, Professor Barrington continued to lecture for several more hours until he was evicted by the cleaning staff of the building.
Oh my. Although concert goers had long left the club, Susie and the dictaphones continued to play on for 2 more hours,
Go, Susie.
making a mockery of critics that alleged their heart wasn't in it.
She showed them. Despite having lost the election several months prior, Bud Alderman continued to campaign as a response to those who opined he's not a serious candidate.
Wasn't he the first one on the moon? Buzz Aldrin?
No, Bud Alderman, not Buzz Aldrin. He was America's #2 spaceman. Are you introducing the next song?
All right. Back to Destructor. This is from the brandy new 2023 Destructor album. Here is the title track from Blood, Bone, and Fire.
Okay, let's talk about Hum Nutrition.
Yeah, we got a whole big shipment of Hum. We have discovered the gummies in Hum are really great. These are the proactive gummies. These have apple cider in them. Pretty much they support a healthy gut, metabolism, and digestion without that horrible, messy apple cider shot. So
I don't mess with the amateur biotics, only the probiotics.
you don't want to be messing around with those.
Amateur biotics.
These are celery juice fiber gummies. These support kind of detoxifying you and also give you your daily green boost, which means it's much easier to take a gummy than to frickin' juice. There's no messy cleanup. So you get all your green boosts right here. No machine cleanup and no messy fruit junk all over the place.
Forget thinking clearly. We're going to think celery.
And this, I'm giving a whirl. This supports healthy glucose levels and weight management. I'm always up for that. This is the best of berberine, which is, it sounds like a rock album. This is the best of berberine.
I'm so confused by it. Why is it called that?
I guess it's called that because this is the best berberine that you can get.
What
It's
hell's
the best
berberine?
formulation.
What's
That's the active drug in this.
Okay.
Is berberine. It's not a rock group, although that wouldn't be a bad one. Taking the stage now, it's berberine.
The best of Cadiddle Hopper. What does this mean?
Anyway, Hum Nutritionals has a lot of fabulous. We even have more upstairs.
The correct answer is actually doesn't matter. It's the best of it. Oh, okay. Well then, good.
Oh, good.
I don't know what it is. Anyways, good. Sorry.
Better than the worst of anything, I suppose.
guess.
But they have all kinds of supplements to address your issues, whether it be skin, hair, nails. So use our link. It will save you $20 off your first order. This is also a rewards program. So the more that you buy, the more that you save, and you also get points towards future orders.
Great. Okay. It's time for collectorbation. I've grabbed the wrong record again, but this is a good record. Blondes have more fun, or do they? How many albums do you know that have the title on the front and the back? Outside it's cold,
Misty and it's raining.
They've got each other.
Neither one's complaining.
He says, I'm sorry, I'm out of milk and
That's
coffee.
a deal breaker for me right there. I'd be like, you better get your ass to Starbucks.
It's all right, sugar. We can watch the morning movie. And if you think
about it and you think I'm sexy,
come on, sugar, let me know. Anyway,
You should
this
probably
is-
let Rod sing it though.
this is not the album that we're going to feature.
Like
We are going to feature 1970 opus Deep Purple's In Rock. Now, at this point, I will say that the earlier Deep Purple that had Rod Evans on vocals, I like the self-titled that came out in 1969. They got away from the covers and the trying to remake Hush 1,000 times and Neil Diamond songs and some dark stuff there. But here they kind of finally decided to go heavy. This is actually the front of the record. Their prior flirtations with pop structures and cover songs vanishes. Their collective DNA recalibrated, course corrected by the infusion of whiskey-fueled storm summoner Ian Gillian. 7 massive texts on this record that stretch, twist, and surge with a burly riff and key-driven might that steps beyond the blues into a new sphere with stupendously talented but completely unsustainable lineup.
Inkier reviewers have discussed the viscera boiling opener Speed King for decades. Suffice it to say, it blows up properly. Gillian's shrieking nods to Little Richard, Presley, and others, guitar and bass at chest-thumping levels, falling away to a breezy jam. You can practically feel the denim heavy on your shoulders and breathe the ambient smoke in the air.
Wait a minute. Viscera boiling. Is that ophthalmology?
What?
Viscera. What is viscera?
I don't know.
Okay. I thought it might have been an eye opportunity.
No.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, it is not. The mood of a child in time rises slow like a brush fire, ballooning and burning on fuel cells of classical gas that flicker, fade, and spike with hardly any lyrics at all. Gillian, Lord, and Blackmore stoking the pyre with mainline to the brain performances.
Let's play Child in Time. Okay, we continue our gushing of Deep Purple's 1970 album In Rock. The rest of the album hardly gets mentioned in the seemingly countless Deep Purple documentaries. There are approximately 47 Deep Purple documentaries on YouTube. But they're just as weighty as the aforementioned loopy vagabond dirt rock of Bloodsucker. The rest of the album is all capsizing heaviness and weathered blues turned inside out, like the grinding, soaring skronk of Living Wreck and the 7+ minute hard chugging closer, Hard Lovin' Man. Just listen to those golden tubes glowing, pace's whipping speed at the height of its power.
Forget about the whole 7 degrees of separation thing. There's likely no more than 4 degrees between In Rock and this year's best metal record. This, along with a couple of others from Heap and Sabs, ushered in a new era. The mud-caked leathery beast that would become pro metal hitting the deck, baring its fangs and opening its cloudy eyes for the first time. No going back.
That's right. Okay, so here's another song from In Rock. This is Into the Fire.
It was that deep purple thing the other day with the black metal. It was good.
Oh, it was Dimmu Borgir.
Yeah.
That was the reunion song they did, Perfect Strangers.
Yeah. So
We're listening to the new Dimmu Borgir song, and it's like organ, and I'm like, wow, that sounds a lot like Perfect Strangers, and it was Perfect.
it was.
Strangers.
It looks like they might have been putting out.
I think they're putting out a covers album because it was
Yeah.
that, and they did Venom Black Metal too.
black metal, which is
And
good.
she was so confused. She's like, "This isn't black metal." I'm like, "Oh no, it's Venom Black Metal." Yeah. So, anyway, why don't you see the interview?
All right, so here it comes. This is our interview with Dave from Destructor. We had a great time discussing this band's history as well as maybe some ale and heroes. What a great guy.
I think we're just trying to interview every band that's in Ohio. Apparently.
There's a lot of big ones in Ohio, so we talk about that too. So here we go. Thank you, Dave.
Oh, well, great then. Well, huge fans of the band. Going
Thank
all the way
you.
back to that first album cover, so iconic. It reminds me a little bit of Destruction, Sentence of Death, the way it's so over the top with all the, the chains and leather and, that photo shoot. What was that photo shoot like for the first record? I mean, did you have to hold those poses for like a really long time or?
So the way the photo shoot for the record came about was there happened to be a couple of buildings in downtown Cleveland that were being demolished. And we had heard about this and we said, hey, this might be a great spot to get up there and do a photo session. So we got all our leather on and stuff. And there was like cars driving by, beeping their horns and wondering what the hell is going on.
Right.
Some of it was pretty sketch because we had to climb up on all these boulders and rebar and all this other stuff. But we just thought, maximum destruction, let's stand on something destroyed. And we happened to find it right in downtown Cleveland. So
that's great. Excellent. One of my favorites.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love that you guys are back with Blood, Bone, and Fire.
Thank you.
I love the names that you've had over the years. Maximum Discussion, of course, was great. Back to Bondage was great. Where do you come up with these great titles? They just grab you right away.
I don't know. I mean, most of it starts with a lyrical idea or a concept. And I just, because I'm in two different bands, Matt and I have a band now called Vulgar Devils. And that's like dirty rock and roll and leaning more towards metal. But it's really a throwback to the stuff that I grew up with and that I wanted to, I had all these ideas that don't necessarily fit Destructor, but they're good songs in my opinion. So I kind of am able to put things into different compartments. Like, all right, these concepts and these titles and stuff definitely are Destructor. These, I can still use, but not for Destructor. But it's always just a pool of ideas and lyrics and inspirations that come from different things and different times that I come up with lyrics and titles for. So
we are arguing about what's going on in the album cover, the new album cover. The naked woman.
Me too.
So you don't know either. Is she waiting to be burned, or is she part of the? Is she his?
I thought she was
what is she his wench or something?
Accomplished.
Yeah, I mean we
She kind of looks like she's surprised, doesn't she? Like
I think it might. I think she might be next. I don't know.
I think she might be next. So Matt Flammable had the idea for a guy that's got like 4 arms, and this whole blood, bone, and fire thing. And the artist Diego just ran with it. He came to us through the record label, through Shadow Kingdoms, and Shadow Kingdom was like, I got this guy Diego. I want him to do the album cover. I'll send you, give me some ideas, and I'll send you the proofs. And at some point we're like, yeah, this is really cool, and it's different than the artists we've used in the past, and
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why we went with that. But did we have a whole lot besides the forearm guy? And I was like, put the Destructor guy as like a belt buckle, so you could still see like the world map in his head, like the Maximum Destruction guy. We call him the Destructor, and the artist just ran with it. So, you know, it's basically hands off when it comes to the band deciding what the cover was going to look like. But we were pleasantly surprised, and everybody seems to like it. So, you know,
Yeah.
cover's just a cover, right?
Oh, a cover is, you totally can judge an album by its cover. You have to.
Sometimes, but what about Anthrax, Fistful of Metal?
Well, that was I know a guy that can draw this for us.
Yeah,
That's what that was.
things were different back then, but sometimes art is so bad, but the content of the record is so great. It's nice
Yeah.
when they all sort of work together, but really there's a lot of album covers out there that bands used at different times that you look back and it's like cringeworthy, but
Yeah.
the albums are still great and the music stands the test of time. You know?
I always bring, whenever this comes up, I always bring up Artillery Terror Squad, because
Yeah.
it may be the worst ever, but I got the story that they were done the record, and Neat Records they were always famous for being so cheap. They were like, "Where's your artwork?" I mean,
Yeah.
we don't. You guys were going to do that, and they're like, "No, go get a guy." You know, so that's why that album cover sucks so bad. You know, but
Here you go,
what a great
quick.
record then.
We need something fast.
Right, exactly. Get your brother-in-law. Yeah.
That Anthrax one, I always imagined at the bottom it would be like the name and what high school, art show it was from.
Oh, Fistful of Metal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, their artwork got better over the years. So.
They actually got a C- on that in 12th grade, but they used it for a record cover.
That's great. You know.
Put it on there, it's fine.
Oh.
So I noticed, like, I love the old albums where you're all just like yelling. So were you actually yelling, or were you just like
Most of the time we're really yelling. It's like, all right,
Okay.
go into maniac mode, otherwise it's just like, I'm not hearing anything. What's going on? Are you having a seizure?
I noticed in the real early band, you guys were into the makeup, but that seemed to go away pretty quick.
Yeah, the very first show, we were like, we're gonna put some eye makeup on and we're do this, and I think Slayer did that like at the first period, and then we got to the point before the record ever came out or anything. After our first show, we're like, all right, working on the image still. Let's lose the makeup, because everybody seemed to be doing that, and we're like, what the hell? We're pretty handsome young men, so no, but seriously, don't have any regrets over it. It's kind of funny to look back on some of those photos. But it was all part of us 20-year-olds trying to come up with some sort of over the top image, and
Yeah.
In some respects emulating what we've seen other bands do, and then realizing, this is actually going to work better for us to do it this way or whatever.
Well, you guys were really one of the pioneers of the speed metal scene. You started as high school friends. Kind of, what was the catalyst that you were like, all right, starting a band?
I think it was just, there was a group of us, Paul Warhead, Pat Rabbit, and myself, and Greg Canis, who was a friend of ours, was a drummer. We all sort of had these high school bands. We're in this lineup, or we're in that lineup, or we're all in the same lineup, and we're trying to discover what we're doing. And we all lived in very close proximity to each other, and we all graduated from Euclid High School the same year, 1982. So it was a matter of having this common love for heavy metal, and I want to be a rock star, or I want to learn how to play guitar, and in basically just working things out. And finally we decided, I think we have something here. Let's call it Destructor. And we had a different drummer at the time. That was in 1983, was truly the very first formation of Destructor. But it wasn't until we met Matt Schindler, Matt Flammable, that he came in, and his drumming style was completely different than the drummer that we were working with. The drummer that we were working with, he really loved, like Neil Peart and Rob Reiner, and he was a little more trying to be fancy or this or that. Matt just came in, he was pounding and just bashed the stuff out. And we're like, now I think we have the chemistry because, you know, it's always a piece of clay, especially in the early years until you figure out, you know, this is our starting point. And so when Matt joined the band in 1984, we always say that was the real beginning of Destructor, you know.
Had you guys heard like the Canadian stuff? Had you heard like Exciter and
Yeah,
Razor
yeah.
and stuff?
I was definitely I bought Heavy Metal Maniac when it first came out. Big Exciter fan. I remember we went to go see Exciter in the basement of a place called the Pop Shop,
Oh,
or the Agora was a little club underneath. And Shock Paris was opening up. And we had yet to play our first show,
wow.
but we were getting close. And we're like, oh my God, these guys, Shock Paris, are opening up. You know, we knew who they were, but we're just like, we should be that band opening up for Exciter. And, you know, this should be our opportunity.
That's
And
great.
we actually met them and talked to Dan Beeler, and we're like, yeah, we're in a band too. And he goes, oh yeah, what's the name of the band? And we go, Destructor. He goes, I wrote a song named Destructor. And we go, we know.
Yeah.
Were there ever any other names in the running, or was that just from the beginning? It was like, yeah, it's Destructor.
God, if there was, it was such a long time ago, 40 some years ago. I honestly, I don't remember. There might have been, well, in high school, we had a band called Black Pyramid. And then we had a band called Damage Case, and we had a band called Hardware. And we're like, you know, so, you know, these names are okay and stuff. But then we stumbled, you know, we're like, well, all right, we got to think of a name. And Paul held up the Exciter record, and he's like, how about Destructor? And we're like, fuck yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. I thought you were gonna say it was from the song Tyrant and the Hideous Destructor.
Yeah, well,
Every man
yeah,
shall fall, you know. So.
it kept popping up. And so, you know, and it was like in a Hawkwind song.
Yeah.
And so we were like, that's the name, you know. And we became Destructor. The funny thing is, and I won't go too far past this topic, a lot of people nowadays are like, oh, so, you know, you guys were trying to imitate Destruction or whatever. And the funny thing is, back at that time, if you went to a record store and you got some import records or you got a magazine, you would find out about some of these other bands. There was no internet. There was no way to find out what's going on the other side of the world. And I remember we were already named Destructor, and we had the leather and stuff. And every band would probably tell you it's influenced by Judas Priest. I mean, come on. Destruction didn't invent that, and all these other bands didn't invent the look.
Right.
They were just kind of carrying that on. And we were in a record store one day, and we pulled up a Destruction record, and we just kind of looked at each other. We're like, wow, okay. But at that point, it's like, they're Destruction, we're Destructor. This is still the beginning of everything in our minds. And I don't see a problem. It's actually, it's not the same band name. So,
Yeah.
But we always get that comparison because of the name, you know, and the look and the time we all came out to,
Yeah.
in the scenes.
Yeah. I used to go, I would get I would read the thanks lists inside, like the special thanks to like Hyrax, and I'd write the names down and go look for them. Like that was the only way I
Right.
could find out about new
Or
stuff.
tape trading.
Or whatever shirt James Hetfield was wearing. You know what I mean? Sam Hain. Wow. I'm gonna check that out. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's hard to believe now because it's everything's fingertips, you know. So, yeah.
So I'm sure, have you ever had a band come up to you, you know, ever and say, you know, you were the inspiration for us starting our band, as iconic as Destructor is?
Yeah, I mean, it's beyond flattering, I guess, to hear that sometimes, and I try just to shrug it off, because everybody is influenced by something, right? And everything is sort of begged, borrowed, and stolen to some degree. But you guys know of the band from Spain called Iron Curtain, and they got their name from the Destructor song Iron Curtain. So sometimes, you know, things keep on taking on a new life of its own somehow. And it was really great. We got to play Spain this past March, and we got to play with those guys and finally meet them. And that was a really, really cool experience, because it's like we're the older guys, and this year's like the younger vanguard. And I personally always will support younger heavy metal bands and stuff. It's the future. I mean, how many more years does any band have? And if we want heavy metal, the thing that we love the most in life, to carry on, and then we certainly should support all of the really good younger bands that are trying to get out there and make a name for themselves and make some good music.
How is Spain? I've always wanted to go to a show there. I heard the fans are just insane there.
It was great. It was great. Yeah. The crowd was very, very enthusiastic. It's nice when you go somewhere else completely on a different continent and people will seem to know the lyrics of your songs or will start chanting Destructors.
They don't even speak English, but they're singing English. That's
right.
Yeah.
So it's great, you know.
It's very cool. We'll talk about, so there was a 1999 reissue of the album. Was it Blood? What was the album that got reissued in 99?
Back in Bondage.
Back in Bondage,
Actually,
right.
it was the second release
Right.
that was recorded originally in '88, but then you had to re-record it. Were
Right.
there a lot of changes by the time it finally got re-recorded?
Not really. I mean, we added a couple of new songs to that. Fight was a new one that I just written, and NBK was something that Pat and Matt helped with. But all of those songs were supposed to be part of Destructor's second record, which never happened because Dave Iannico was murdered, and we were in the middle of recording. So a lot of that stuff was unfinished. And then when we went back to listen to it, we're like, it's unfinished. Some songs we didn't even begin to record yet. Some of this stuff was a little bit messed up that we didn't have a lot of tools to fix. You know, if the drums were messed up on one of the songs, I think the tape ran out while we were recording. It's like, floop, 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 floop. And they're like, stop. But when we got back together again, we felt there was a lot of unfinished business that we had to do. And that was the first thing that we wanted to revisit. Was this is the songs that we wrote in 1987 and 1986. We wanted them to see the light of day, and we wanted that to come out. It was supposed to come out before Sonic Bullet. But we actually recorded the Back in Bondage sessions, I think, in 2001. And then 2002 or 2003 was Sonic Bullet. That's when Jamie joined the band.
I love all your surnames, you know, the Holocaust and, you know, but where is that given by the band, or does the person pick it, or does it kind of happen?
It kind of happens. So back in the day, it was like, you pick your name, you know, okay. And nowadays and stuff, because there's been different members and different phases of the band and stuff. I think I came up with a couple of the names for the newer guys, but the way Matt, like, for instance, I knew that I was going to be called Dave Overkill because I was a huge Motorhead fan. And I remember my parents went on vacation and I had a bunch of, and this was still in high school, I had a bunch of friends come over and stuff. We had a party at the house. We had the big windows open and we're cranking Overkill. And we had taken some LSD at the time, you know? So we started to play the record over and over and over and over again. Put it on again, you know? And then I was like, yeah, you know, Overkill, that's like one of my favorite songs at the time. So Pat originally was named Pat Marshall, and then he changed his name to Pat Rabid. Paul Warhead was Paul Saxon, I think, at first, and he changed it to Paul Warhead, kind of like after the Venom song. And we actually rehearsed above this chemical storage facility, and there was a bunch of, we were on the top floor, and there was a bunch of like those stickers that they put on trucks, you know, flammable liquid, hazardous waste and stuff like that. We're like, those stickers are really cool. Can we have some of those, you know? And the guys downstairs were like, yeah, here you go. And one day we just slapped them, the flammable ones, onto Matt's drums, and we're looking at it, we're like, you're flammable. And then that's just basically how it came out. So some of it's just us farting around and having fun, you know. We don't try not to take it too serious.
Yeah, when I was in college, I was in a band, and we were more on the punk side, but I really wanted to have cool names. Like I was going to be Johnny Dropout, and the other
I like that.
and the other guy was like something Heartbreak, like he was like in some Heartbreak. And the drummer, of course, ruined it. He didn't want to do it. He just wanted to be, Ted or whatever the hell's name
You
was.
can't
Yeah.
have all that and Fred.
I
I
would.
know,
I,
and
'cause I was
Fred.
so like cigarette hanging out. That
Yeah.
was me. I was Joe Perry. I was like, yeah, Johnny Dropout. That's my name. So, whatever.
I can picture it. That's an awesome
Lost
name
in the
and
ether.
image.
Or I'm dating a girl and she's, what's your boyfriend's name? His name's Johnny Dropout. Oh, great. You can
Yeah.
imagine the parents' reaction.
Don't bring him over.
He's not really a dropout. Oh, well, so.
Sure, he's not.
Yeah, when you were talking about reel to reel, back when I was a DJ, we had to record the network feed on reel to reel. That's how long
yeah.
ago that was.
So you were splicing.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you had blue lines and cutting razor blades, splicing. Oh,
Give me the tape.
So this is your first recording in 6 years with Blood, Bone, and Fire. How much has it changed recording? Like when you were back with the flip to now?
Obviously it's changed a lot, but the spirit of when we actually record is still the same. We'll play together in a live room, and the most important thing is we're going to capture the drums, and if the bass guitar is virtually perfect, we'll leave that. Otherwise, Tim can go and he can touch up some stuff, and then we'll take the tape into the other studio in the back, and we'll set up all the amps and stuff in a different room, and that's when we go and we really work on the guitar tone and all of that. But the setting when we actually record, it's us all standing around by Matt, so we're still making eye contact. We can vibe off of each other, and smiles and all of that stuff, or frowns, like, what the, come on, man. But that helps to get a really good spontaneous take, and then basically we just build on that.
Very cool.
That's awesome. So a favorite track of mine from this one is The Heroic Age.
Thank you.
Were you thinking of any particular era or just heroes overall? Because I noticed in the video you had the Viking horns drinking, so I was like, is it Vikings?
Yeah, so the concept came of Matt had this idea, like writing a song about the age of Troy and the Trojan horse and the tales, whether they're true or weren't true of that time. And I started doing some research, and then a friend of ours, Sandy Kruger, who was the singer of the band Sacred Few, she was a very close and dear friend of ours. She just passed away a year ago, but her and I started to work on some of the lyrics. I was like, I actually want you to sing on this with me, because she's got a great voice. That never happened, but she did come up with some lyrics. The passage where she finds quick comfort in the songs that play in her head, I was like, oh yeah, a woman's perspective from the battlefield is really, really important. And those kind of things happen. My dumb ass from the male perspective, I didn't really think about that. So we started to incorporate some lyrics, and I saved all the stuff that she contributed to that. And it was the last song we wrote for the record. I just felt that the song was not too fast. It was pretty catchy, and it was simple enough where it would be able to deliver a good lyric. And so we came up with Heroic Age.
Did you guys, honestly, was that a real pig head?
It was, yeah. I actually cooked it in my smoker outside, and then I took it over to the place where we did the photo shoot.
Awesome.
Yeah, that was great. I love the way you guys have always stayed consistent with your metal fashions. Where's the best place like that? Is there a go-to place for that, or is it a DIY, do it yourself?
It is a do-it-yourself. Yeah, basically we'll go. Now there used to be shops in town and stuff, and now I'll basically go to studsandspikes.com, and I'll buy all that stuff, and I'll buy like blank leather vests and articles. Sometimes I'll buy some leather, cut it out, make our own wristbands or whatever. But it's so easy to do the stuff. Just make it yourself now, and then it also makes it unique. So it's not like, well, you bought that at Hot Topic at the mall or someplace,
Yeah, right. Yeah. Posers.
We had
Yeah.
this one band, they had all these chains in their video. I was like, where did you get that from? They're like, yeah, Home Depot. I'm like,
A
"Oh,
hardware store.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, with a little bit of razor wire, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't
It's
cut,
the right thing.
don't cut yourself on stage, right? Well, the Ohio metal scene seems so prolific, like with Midnight and Nunslaughter, who we talked to not too terribly long
Yeah,
ago.
we had Don on the show.
Night Goat, Buzzbin. I mean, it's just Baltimore doesn't seem like that to me. There's just not a lot of like.
There's no.
There isn't. I mean, a few, and some of them we didn't even realize were from here until recently. But what is it about Ohio that spurns this kind of?
Oh, I don't know. That's a hard question to pin down. I mean, the joke in Cleveland is there's more bands than there are fans, and sometimes, you're playing a show and stuff, and I'm like, there's dudes from Nunslaughter, there's the guys from Rip Ride there. I mean, you're playing for all your other fellow musicians, and some of them are like, yeah, and some are like this.
Wow.
But there's a good scene here, still a lot of camaraderie. I've been great friends with the guys in Nunslaughter for a long time. Don's like a really good friend. Noah is the genius engineer at the recording studio at Mercenary. He's the one that recorded most of the record. Sean Vanek, guitar player from Midnight, recorded the other stuff. That's him and his brother's studio. And then Noah Buchanan mixed and mastered and gave it a production. So, and I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Jamie Athenar from Midnight was a member of Destructor for 11 years. And he helped write a good amount of songs on Decibel Casualties. He wrote the song Sonic Bullet. He wrote a fair amount of songs with me on Forever in Leather as well. So him and I have been really good friends for a long time.
It was great when we interviewed Don. I had a nun habit on.
He
Was
did.
dying.
Yeah, it turned out good.
It was right around Halloween. I'm like, why
He
not?
liked it. He liked it. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you guys played that hometown for Halloween together, so I knew there had to be some kind of connection. And you had a split with Nunslaughter.
Yeah. So, and I think this was Athenar's idea and Jarvis's idea. They wanted to do the 20th anniversary of Midnight, and I think Athenar was like, well, let's put all the bands that are like my personal friends on this bill. And obviously Nunslaughter was one of them. Jamie's always been a huge Black Death supporter, and Black Death played on that bill as well. It was their first gig in like maybe 2 years or something like that. And we opened up the show. We played at 8:00 to set the tone for the night, and the place was packed, and it was nice because in Cleveland, sometimes, unless it's an event, you play for 20, 30, 50, maybe 100 people. And there was about 500-600 people at this gig. So, and a lot of them were from out of town. Midnight has a huge following, obviously. And it was just great to be part of that and be included in that.
And we saw them when they came to town not too terribly long ago. Great. Absolutely.
Are you a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame hater or indifferent, or?
I guess I'm sort of indifferent. I'd like for it to be something great. I've been there a couple of times, and it's just like, yeah, okay. Some of my European friends are like, hey, we're in town. Can you take me to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
There's Michael Jackson's glove. There's ZZ Top's fuzzy guitar. I mean,
every year I'm like, who got in? And it's always like Lionel Richie, sax player.
Yeah, exactly.
Dolly Parton. Yeah.
It's kind of a joke.
Span. I'll be like, who? But not Thin Lizzy.
Oh,
of
right.
course not. Where do they? Who the people they pick are the? I would never have chosen.
It's a corporate thing, and you have to be in the, you have to be part of the clan or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean,
a lot of those old Rolling Stone guys, I think, from Rolling Stone magazine, that kind of are at the core, and they whip on everything.
And then also, if like you got $1 million and now your investment, your say something going to be more than the guy that actually like listens and saw Aerosmith on their very first tour or something,
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, we went off about the whole Dolly Parton thing, and then she felt the need to record a rock album because maybe if you're in the Hall of Fame, that might be a good idea to actually have a rock album.
Yeah.
Really? How does that work?
And it's like the worst, like Z-list people with her. It's like Steven Tyler and Sting and yeah. So, anyway.
So you guys recently played in Germany at the Keep It True festival. What are the fans like? Are they different there? Are they a little more intense?
The crowd at Keep It True was great. It was one of the best crowds we had an opportunity to play for. It was, like we were third on, and everybody that goes to these kind of festivals, they're not like, I think we'll show up after 7 o'clock and see so and so. Like they've already made the pilgrimage and bought the tickets and they have the arrangements. They're there. They want to see every band, and they absorb it from the beginning all the way to the end if they make it to the end. But the crowd was really, really great. I mean, again, we're in Germany. There's 2,000 people. We're the third band on, and people are chanting Destructor. They're going crazy, and the response after every song was really, really good. And fortunately for us, we felt for the most part we were playing in tune and on time, and we had a good show, and that's all you really can ask for. And try not to analyze a show that's happened too much. Like, you'll just drive yourself crazy. Oh, I screwed this up, or we did this or whatever. It's like a fraction of a moment in time, and it happens so quickly, but in your mind you're like,
Exactly. I love that the German audiences, they have none of our shitty American irony where it's, that everything is at a lyric like at a time when the dinosaurs walked the earth. The Germans are like, yeah, that's what, there's nothing funny about that. They have no irony. They're just man of war, straight ahead, loincloth. Yes, it's great.
and festivals like that, with those kind of lineups and that many bands and stuff, there's people from all over. There was people from the United States, there was people from South America there, Canada, Europe and stuff. So it's great to be able to play in front of that kind of a pool of audience where they've come from all over. And some will be like, I never heard of you guys before. And we're like, I don't know how. Okay. And they were like, you were great though. Or, or I've waited, the past 10 years and we did a signing and stuff, and they had stacks of shit like this for us to sign. It's like, I got my whole entire collection. Here's this version. Here's this version. And so the dedication of that and the quality of people that come to those shows, they're there because they want to be there and they love heavy metal.
I always wonder at the fashions. There'd be a woman. You remember this? She had a leather jacket that had Venom Welcome to Hell on the back, and it wasn't spray painted. It was like she bought it like that. Where do you get in 2023?
She bought it like that?
0 female Venom leather jacket.
I would think she probably would have painted that herself, or somebody would have painted it.
I was really looking at it, and it was too well done to have been a DIY, my opinion. So.
Yeah, going back to like Germany, I was watching the video of you at WAC in like 2008, and you are just a sweat ball. I was like, was it hot? Was it light?
Yeah. It was hot. I think that was like late August. It was really, really muggy. And the weather in northern Germany, it's either like a beautiful day or it's torrential rain and pressing heat. There's it doesn't seem to be like any middle ground when it comes to that.
Sounds like Baltimore. We're either 90 or
God.
Yeah,
it's been crazy.
Yeah, same here in Cleveland. You guys know how it is. The weather it's like spring one day and then it's like 85 degrees total humidity the next day. And
I can't put any clothes away. Like I might need a tank top, I might need a jacket. I don't know. So,
it's always one of those, the middle of the day you can get away with like shorts, and by night you're like putting on your sweatpants.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah.
So what do you credit most with keeping this band's true sound to its original 80s speed metal style, while this past record you sound even more fueled than ever?
Thank you. I that's a good question, I guess. Having half of the original band having Matt's drumming style, and the relationship that I have with Matt for all of these years, and the fact that I'm the primary songwriter, although many other people have helped write songs. It's not like I wrote all the songs, but lyrically you're going to hear like the same singer, and unless I've lost my mind and I took a left turn and I go off-roading and stuff, I know what is going to work for the band, and I still always have like, I've got these great ideas, another great song, and all these this pool of stuff to work with. I know where I'm going to go with it, and I'm the one steering the ship for the most part. So I think that's where the consistency comes from.
Well, it sounds like also you have that separation because you have that other band, and you're able to say this is Destructor and this is, like you were saying. I think
Right.
that's part of it too. You know, so you're
Having
getting
an
to use all
outlet
your
for
material,
ideas.
but you can be selective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was looking, a lot of your, like, the metal themes are actual metal, you know, iron, steel. And it always seems like in like black metal, it's horns. And this metal is literally metal. I was always like, why does that fuse together like that?
It works. Yeah.
Lots
Yeah.
of metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to think of other concepts and do stuff a little outside the box, and I think that this last record is really, really close to our roots, but still also in the 21st century. So, you know, it can't be mistaken like this. This probably sounds like it was recorded in 85. It's a little more modern sounding, but the style of the music and the delivery of the songs and the hooks and the melody and all that stuff is still that passion that we've been carrying from the early days till now.
Oh, they're all being in the same room thing is
Yeah.
really important too. I mean, there's some of these labels where you could tell they have this group of musicians that they just trade files, and every album they put out, it's like George Lynch and Doug Pinnick. And it's like, were they ever in the same room together? No.
You got to
No,
wonder
you know,
sometimes. Yeah. I mean,
there's a lot of
sometimes if it sounds too sterile or
Yeah,
too perfect.
right.
Um,
And they're not going to tour or anything. It's like, come
Right.
on.
Your vocal style, and I would say this about you, and we talked to Tim from Sirith and Ghoul, it's better than ever. Do you have any tips or tricks for keeping your voice fresh? Or
No, thank you. I appreciate that. I really haven't done anything, you know, a lot of times I'll drink and smoke too much, and then I'll go for a period where I don't drink and smoke. But I know that when it comes to going in the studio or preparing for live shows, you know, that I get it together mentally and physically, because it's way harder the older you get. And I guess I'm just fairly lucky that I open my mouth and the same sound comes out. You know, I might not have some of the same range I had when I was younger, but I also gained some other things that I didn't have back then as well. So kind of evens out.
Yeah, talking to the older guys is so great. Like she was saying, Tim from Sirith and Gall, he just dropped casually that he saw Priest on the Sad Wings tour. It was like $5. I mean, what? You know, and
I wish I would have seen that.
I know, right? That was when they were still wearing like sashes and hats and stuff. That was before, like you said, the leather.
Right.
And then when we interviewed Malcolm from Quartz, he was saying that Tony Iommi, before Sabbath, auditioned to be in their soul project. It's like, wow.
Yeah.
How old are you guys? Yeah.
Older than me.
Yeah, just the stories are so great. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we are so glad to have you guys back, and we will continue to spin this of many times in our household.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
I
hopefully
really
maybe
appreciate
you'll-
the support and the interest in taking the time to do an interview like this. It's been my pleasure.
All right, my friend. Well, thanks so much again. This has been great.
hopefully
Best of
we'll
luck
get
to
you in-
Snaggletooth, and thanks for the time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no
Hopefully we'll get you over here to Baltimore for a show.
Yeah. Well,
That'd be great to come back and play Baltimore.
you'll just suddenly sit down at the bar, and we'll walk up and say, "Remember us?" You know, that's usually how it goes.
And I'll say, yes, I do.
Falling on deaf ears.
Okay, Deaf Ears 1 is the new cassette EP from Besta Quadrata, the first 4 weeks. At first listen, all can be sure that Buffalo, New York's Besta Quadrata has landed squarely in the punk genre with their latest offering, first 4 weeks. Actually, their first offering, first 4 weeks. The band's name itself translates to Square Beast, which may have come from bassist Carol Magg's Brazilian roots. There is no fluff or squareness to be found here, though. 7 tracks effortlessly sprinting by, just shy of 11 minutes, with perfect form, like Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt on a track. The album has a demo-like, almost raw, unpolished feel, and yet the music is infectious and packed with solid performances. It's hard to believe that this is singer Bailey's first time on lead vocals. Her style, less rage-induced, more of the sing-songy disdain and stamped-on apathy of Cherry Curry.
Yeah, prior to this, she only did karaoke. True story.
Interesting.
The drum.
I dated karaoke. What a bit. Anyway.
The drumming, credited to the monogamous gene, is the crazy in this glue. It's frantic, at times almost verging on thrash speed levels, like in Born to Lose. Yet in other cuts, like I Quit, he throws in surprisingly spicy surf roll beats. The Greg Ginn-informed guitar work of the monogamous John squeals and squalls in a perfect din, as showcased on the aforementioned Born to Lose. Some of the best interplay between these four is in Crawl, finding John's guitar whining in syncopation with Bailey's melody before finding a solid riff climbing out and crackling chromatic scales. The funky bass of Mags takes over briefly before a guitar solo climbs its way in, crunchy as a bag of chips. All the while, Bailey's bombastic delivery of repetition commands and whines all at once. Crawl.
I really like this mix of the best of many styles of punk, from older stuff like The Germs to exciting contemporaries like Big Clown and Death Pill, both of which have been featured here. It leaves the listener wanting another spin, each time finding another nuance that makes Besta Quadrata not just another punk band. I read that they're already working on new music. I will watch this band's career with rapt interest to see what else the Square Beast will birth into being. So let's play a song.
This is Everywhere Is My Enemy.
That was a good one. Okay. Deaf Ears 2 is Bad Bad Men's debut full-length, Messed Up. A trio of long hairs from Omaha, Nebraska, consisting of ex-members from faded monikers like Cellophane Ceiling and Ritual Device. No, you haven't heard of them. Just calm down. Sit back down. At this point, it's clear Bad Bad Men have visited their voidods. They have digested their dolls. They have hoarded their heartbreakers. Now they are ready for world domination in the form of these 10 songs, all performed with bittersweet, born-to-lose attitude and hard-charging power chord aptitude. It takes a lot of beers, fights, and witchy women to drive a band to develop a sound like this. Suffice to say, Bad Bad Men are so fresh from the garage, they still smell like antifreeze.
Ransom Note is Ramones' riffs up against Doll's vocals, courtesy of frontman John Wolfe, channeling Johansson's yowls with crushed velvet smoothness. Bad Bad Men is a 4-chord stomper describing a familiar but unfortunate descent into degenerate life. The slow clunk riffing in the second half of the song is so potent, you can smell the cheap beer. Wolf's solo wailing and whining like a heated argument with a stripper girlfriend. You get the idea. Whether the band is steamrolling behind drummer Chris Sebkin's cymbal splooshes, hit hard, or wallowing in morose gutter snipe misery a la Good for Nothing, they do it with flair and hooks galore.
I think they should get like a clunky old white vintage Good Humor truck and just paint Bad Bad Men across the side for the tour. And then they'll just, as they drive along, they can watch all the disquieted mothers pulling their kids into the house. How great would that be? All right, so this song is called Ransom Note. Fiery Purgatory.
This is Deaf Ears 3. This is Sadistic Force with Midnight Assassin. Black and thrash trio from Austin showing prolific tendencies since forming in 2020 in the form of several splits, EPs, and this is their second full-length appearing on the esteemed Houston-based Goat Throne label. There is no lack of black metal and sadistic sound. Drummer Jose Alcaraz occasionally flirting with blast beats. Singer-guitarist James Oliver rasping away about a wide range of topics from occult funerals to cauldron mead. But what makes this band so captivating is the rock and roll nuances captured in this recording. The production job by Akron-based studio Svengali Noah Buchanan, he is also the guitarist in Nunslaughter,
Is in Nunslaughter.
is incredible, from the throbbing bass tone to the perfect snare pop to the intricate twin guitar harmonies the band executes. This is dark, extreme, 14-karat rock and roll if I have ever heard it.
I was thinking about it. When Britt said, "Would you like mulled wine?" and I hesitated. If she had said, "Would you like some cauldron mead?" I would have been like, "Hell yeah." Anyway, on first listen, it's hard to believe there are only one guitarist, as the solos are so intricate, so well executed, often harmonized, and always building ear-catching crescendos. The solo in Hell on the Horde is a splendid example of Oliver's seasoned approach, alternating slower howling passages with hard shredding added pizzazz. The pub-style gang choruses in tracks like Speeding Black Leather Hell and the aforementioned Hell of the Horde have an off-kilter Exodus Bonded by Blood kind of vibe to them. In fact, despite the blackened edges, there's a lot of 80s Metallica and Exodus built into this sound, from the captivating Kirk Hammett-esque noodles in Corpsewood Corpse, look what they did there, to the Kill 'Em All Gallop in the title track. The whole album is rock solid, but the D-beat charge of Nuremberg Nights may be the strongest track on the album, a track that should delight both Motorhead and Exhumed fans alike, with evil vibes, sexy riffing, and even some Tom Warrior thrown in there for good measure.
This is starting to seem more like gushing than reviewing, but suffice to say,
Is gushing.
this Texas trio have called together some of my favorite music and added just a little extra witchiness and virtuosity without sacrificing an ounce of power. Outstanding record.
All right, let's play a song. This is Corpsewood Curse. Well, that was a good one. We talked about Gary Shirk, police detective.
We talked about mold wine or how my wine gets moldy on my nightstand.
Turns into a solid as opposed to a liquid.
It is solid.
We talked about celebrity entrees. The amber does not go with the depth.
Most definitely not. Anyone who watched that documentary will tell you that.
We talked about Do You Think I'm Sexy? And one hell of a Deep Purple album.
And do blondes have more fun?
Or
Or
do
do
they?
they? This has been the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast. Special thanks to Dave from Destructor for appearing on the show. Snaggletooth theme courtesy of Jens Kemgren of the Firebombs. Heard they have some new stuff coming out too. Deaf Ears theme by Tim Green of the Fucking Champs. Season 3 artwork courtesy of KC Angel. You can find him on Instagram, KC Angel Art. Deaf Ears bands, get over there and check them out, as well as Destructor, Sadistic Force, Besta, Quadrata, and Bad Bad Men. All content 2023, the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.
I want some milk and coffee. Are we going to have a problem here?
This is the Snaggletooth Rock and Roll Podcast.